Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Continuing on in our auction buying series, I'm 1 for 1 so far. The Dolmar Makita ran like a Swiss watch. Let's see if we continue our good luck, because again, you never know at an auction what you're getting. So today's video, let's try the 026. First thing I'm going to do, like the last saw, let's get the bar and chain off. If you've ever cut yourself on a chain, wow. Friends, if your bar nuts are this tight, don't do it. Wow. A gorilla put these on. I ain't a small fella, and I've never been accused of having weak grip strength, but geez, this thing's... They do not need to be that tight. You can pull your bar out of the case doing that. Okay, rant over. Again, when you wrench on saws all the time, you see things, you just shake your head. Okay, so first things first, this thing has like a 16-inch bar and chain, hard nose. This is a Stihl bar, old school Stihl bar. In fact, I'll bet you money that this was the bar that came with this saw. Chain's fairly sharp on this, which is a good sign. First thing I do when I buy a used saw, if I can get it with the bar, I want to see what shape the chain's in. Nothing wrong with this chain. Looks like whoever sharpened this knew what they were doing, and looks like it was pretty much a brand new chain. It's an Oregon chain, but that's a good sign. So let's check for spark on this saw, and let's pull the muffler off. Now, I have had tons of these saws over the years. This used to be my go-to. Before I realized the benefits of large saws and long bars, and even before I ran long bars, this is what I ran. Okay, now these, you push them in. There we go. And pull it out. It's like a quarter turn type of arrangement. Metal mesh air cleaner. Pretty common for these. There's not really going to be anything to see behind here, but we'll take it off anyways. Well, it's good to see the same guy that put that bar on didn't put this on. Okay, we'll undo these two nuts here. Pretty common Stihl thoroughfare impulse line on the bottom there, and pretty common. Again, I'm going to blow out this air filter. It's all clogged in there. These have the choke inside the air cleaner like the 038s do. So be aware of that. If you have a hard starter, I'll bet you that this isn't seating all the way. Okay. This one looks like it's not. It's sealing at the bottom, but not at the top. So maybe that's a sign of things to come. Okay, I'm just going to clean this up. Okay, and upon second look, this is a flocked air cleaner that has most of the whatever material that is taken off. So pretty sure I got a new air cleaner for this saw in my spares. Again, I used to own these and run them like crazy. First saws I ever ported before I had the channel were 026s, and they went pretty good if I remember correctly. Okay, so next thing to do, I'm going to take this top cover off. Try not to block you guys too much here. The first 026 I ever got was a newer one. Newer than this vintage. Again, these are super simple to work on. My neighbor had one of these, and they ran it and blew it up like right away with a dull chain. And I ended up getting it given to me, and I thought, wow, a real professional Stihl. Well, that looks good. Do you guys see that? That spark plug doesn't look like it has much in the way of time on it, so we'll see what the deal is with this. Just like the last saw. I'll turn the light off here. This light, that light. Friends, if you film YouTube lighting, especially if you're doing this kind of stuff, the more lighting you can have, the better. It's one thing I've learned over the years. Okay, I'm going to bring you guys right in. Let's see, do we have spark on this saw? Now I'm going to try and do this without giving myself a poke. Okay. There you go. There you go. Okay, hope you guys saw that. She's got all kinds of spark. Stihls around here are notorious for being carbon scored. And I don't know if it's the oil or what. And again, I don't want to start an oil debate, but I noticed that early on when I was buying used Stihls, often they... That's not going in. Okay, that's good. I noticed often they'd be lacking in the compression department, and a lot of times, well, they were all scored up with carbon. Oh, this brings back memories. I haven't had one of these things in years. And I remember the first one I rebuilt. This is the first bottom end I ever did was on one of these saws. I didn't have I had a crankcase splitter, and I've just bought it. The first time I ever used my case splitter was on one of these. And I remember because I killed one of the seals, and I had to buy a new seal for it because I folded it over putting it in. Okay, these are nice. 2 bolts and our 2 screws. Yeah, I guess these would be bolts. 2 bolts, and the front of the muffler comes right off. Now, I'm hoping that we see a nice clean piston. I'd like to port this original cylinder if possible. I probably, if I look at my junk, I probably have pistons and cylinders for these things still. And see all that? That's what I see in Stihls all the time around here. And that. See all that carbon? That's a thing here. Piston, cylinder, look. Absolutely perfect on this saw. Okay, well, nothing to see there. So, again, maybe I made good on this deal. I'm not going to disturb any of that carbon right now. It hurts me to leave it in there. And these right here, what I used to do is I would drill another 3/8 hole there and another 3/8 hole there. And it woke these things right up. Look, this whole saw breathes through that, okay? Think about that. It's horrible. In fact, you do a base gasket to lead on one of these and drill 2 more holes in that exit and try it. And I mean, I remember years ago, the saw was a completely different saw. These things cut. This is one of Stihl's better 60cc saws they ever made, or 50cc rather. And I would still roll with one of these today. They're light, agile. Yeah, they have a plastic bar on them, but it's like, that never bothered me. It works. They don't break. Okay, so I don't know what to say. Maybe this is just going to be a saw that somebody put down. And if it is, I definitely bought it right. I bought it thinking it's going to be scored up. Like, even look at this cap. It's rare you ever see a Stihl with a cap like that. Okay. And I found the problem with this saw already. Smells like varnish in there. This saw is probably, it won't run. I'm going to show you guys what's wrong with this saw right now before we even try and start it. I will get it to run, but it's not going to run well. Check this out. Okay, and I don't know how well you guys see that. The fuel filter or the fuel line is broken, right where it goes into the fuel tank. Okay, I'm going to see if I can rig something up to get this thing running. Okay, so all I'm going to do here, without going too far into this, here's your fuel line. You see it's broken right there. All I'm going to do is try and see. Stihls have a habit of doing this. When they're old, they don't do it, new. These are good, reliable saws. They get kind of scungy there. I'm going to just see if I can put a piece of pipe on there for now, because I don't have a fuel line for this. Okay, so all I'm going to do here is I'm going to take some of this Echo fuel line. I'm not even going to put a filter on it for right now, because we know that this thing is going to need, and actually that's probably going to be way too long. So maybe I'll cut an inch or two off of this. Okay, I'm just going to take this Echo fuel line here, fish it through the hole. Now, this is just an impulse nipple for like a 372. Okay, I'm going to shove this into the fuel line. It's hillbilly, but it should work. It may not, but we'll see. And then push it back into here. Okay, now this thing's so shrunken that the grommet fits pretty loose in here. So this thing would definitely have a fuel leak if we were on it. Okay, and there you go. Now I'll put some fuel in here. Put the air filter back on. Now again, I don't know if this thing's going to run. If the fuel line's that bad, my guess will be that this carb needs to be rebuilt. I think this is a WT, so I should probably have a carb kit for this, but we can go farther and farther into these saws. Just want to see, what do I got? And can you actually buy a saw at auction these days and have it? This has always been kind of a wonky setup. There you go. Can you buy a saw at auction and have it run after? Okay, I'll dump a little fuel in here, making sure that that line is on the bottom of the tank, which it is. Okay, put some fuel in here. Glug, 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 glug. Try not to put too much in because it's leaking right now. I can smell it. There you go. Again, we got a fuel leak. So it pays dividends to go over your saws, because trust me, if you don't find these little problems, well, you're gonna find them in the bush. And you're gonna be like, oh, this saw's a piece of junk. No, it's not. It's just old. It needs maintenance. Okay, well, let's pull this thing over and see what we got. Okay, do you guys think this thing's gonna run? I'm not sure. I'm 50-50 at this point. Let's see where the screws are at. This one I'm actually going to check. Half, 1, 1.5, 2. Holy smokes. This thing was open 3 turns, which tells me somebody was probably richening it because it wouldn't start because the fuel line was broken. So let's go. I'm trying not to spill fuel out. Half, 1. Okay, and it says right here, high and low screw, 1 turn on these. Back in the good old days, they let you know where things were supposed to be, because you you were expected to know how to tune a saw if you were running one. Okay, and I'm just going to put a little rich on the high jet. Wow, the gas cap doesn't even leak. Okay, all the way down is full choke on this thing. Okay, let's give her a go. That's pretty good. Now I have a feeling that this thing's not going to run properly. Either my fuel line's leaking or we got a carb kit issue, but we'll give her a go again. Let's give her some choke again. Nope. I may have just flooded it. I'm going to turn the idle up a little bit. Choke off. Okay. This thing is leaking fuel all over the place. Now the other thing is that choke might not be sealing, so it's because we're here and, you know, we're in the mood, we're working on stuff. Let's take the air filter off, if you guys got a moment. Now it's hard to tell if this thing's flooded or it's just leaking everywhere because it's leaking fuel all over the place. Okay, I'm going to pull this thing over with my thumb over the back of the carb. That should fire it up if it needs choke, but I have a feeling this thing's flooded. Oh yeah. Okay. I'm going to try one last thing, and then if this thing doesn't start, well, we know we got to build the carb. It doesn't mean you didn't make a good purchase, right? Just means that it needs some love. If this was a good running saw, maybe it wouldn't have went to auction, right? Or it wouldn't got sold. A lot of times, 90% of saw issues are because they sit too much. I tell people often now, if you don't run your saw often, once a year, say, get an electric saw. At least you know that'll start. People leave these things sitting and they end up, oh yeah, this thing's super flooded. Let's try a different spark plug just while we're standing here. I'm not even going to put the top cover back on. I'm just going to screw it into here. See if we, I think this thing's flooded actually, like really flooded. I don't know why, but the needle and seat could be open also, right? So there's lots of issues that could be going on with this saw. Okay, I'm going to leave it on fast idle. I'm just going to fire the saw up like this and see what we can get it to do now. Well, this thing's horribly flooded. Let's see what we can make it do now. You guys see that? It was fighting me to get up to RPM, so smoking like crazy. Half. One. I wonder if I got another spark plug kicking around here. Again, this spark plug I used may not have been, you know. Also, I noticed a lot of rust where the coil is. This spark plug might not be firing every time. It's very possible. Could just be rust on the magnet. Again, we know this thing's going to run, though. It's already started for us. But the question is, I think it's like the saw isn't firing every time. It's ridiculously rich. Okay. Shouldn't be that rich. I have no choke on it. Okay, I gotta fix this. Sometimes these switches get kind of funny. Anyways, we'll leave it like that. Well, friends, I don't know exactly what this saw is doing right now, but it's way too rich. And again, it may... Oh. Okay, I thought I had the high jet seated. The high jet is turned out like 3 turns. So, let's try this again. Remember, the high jet and the low jet often share some fuel. Okay, before we give up. 1 or half a turn. Let's put the low jet back at 1 turn. Okay, let's try this again. This thing's a little picky to adjust. Okay, friends, well, you guys see it there. This thing was way too rich. Now it's kind of evened out. It's not running perfect, but the kill switch is kind of funky on this thing. But all in all, it runs. It seems to be okay. I had to shut her down, friends. She's smoky in here, and I don't want to let all my heat out. But there you guys go. I think we're 2 for 2. This thing definitely needs some fuel line and carburetor work. It's not tuning like a normal saw should tune. So right there, rather than messing with it, You know, one thing I've learned over time is to be patient. Quit while you're ahead. You don't want to blow a saw up because you're, you know, messing with it when it needs a carb kit or something like that. But the problem was, friends, so there's so much crud and debris in this saw that I thought that this saw, I thought that my high jet was seated. Remember I said I turned it in all the way? The high jet was out like 5 turns on this saw. The low jet was out like 3.5, 4 turns. So when I seated my high jet, I actually didn't seat it all the way. And my guess is that somebody was doing something with this saw. I have a feeling that this thing was running lean because the fuel line broke, and somebody was richening the carburetor trying to get more fuel. And then what ended up happening is it didn't get more fuel and probably just stopped running, and they threw it on the shelf, and that's where it's at. So again, notice that the high jet was out way too far. This thing was idling super rich. It wouldn't even come off the low jet. It wouldn't get past probably 5,000-6,000 RPM there, and it was just fighting itself. And the whole reason was the high jet was open way too far. Whew! It's smoky in here. Anyhow, friends, 1.5 for 2. This thing's not perfect, but it does run and it's not blown up, so I'll take it. I guess on the next video, we'll have to see if we're 2.5 for 3. I don't think that 268 is going to run. I'll be shocked if it does. Anyhow, stay tuned. We'll find out in the next video. Thanks for watching. Take her easy. Later. I got to air this place out.